Are you considering divorce? Are you dealing with it now? Are you on the other side and not sure what comes next? You've come to the right place. Welcome to the Divorce Do's and Don'ts Show with your host, Lisa C. Decker.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Divorce Do's and Don'ts Show. I'm Lisa Decker, your host, and also the founder and CEO of Divorce Money Matters and Divorce Town USA, the sponsor of this show. And this week, we are going to be doing a very different kind of show. I'm going to be sharing a personal journey with you today, my personal journey of breast cancer for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And I hope what I share with you today will help move you from just awareness to action and even activism and some of the things that we each can do on a daily basis to help make a difference in the world, not only for breast cancer, but for a lot of things. So join me in my journey today and thank you for being here. So October is traditionally known as Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And I think that people are quite aware of breast cancer. And I think it's time that we're going to shift the perception of just not being aware, but moving into actions that can help us save our lives, our finances as well, with the things that I'm going to share with you today, and our health overall. So my journey began in 1997. I was in my mid-30s. I had 3 small children. I was running a construction-related business with my husband, and life was good. And then one day, it was turned upside down when I had an itch under my bra strap. And when I reached to scratch it, I felt something that immediately I knew should not be there. A very firm, hard, round lump that did not feel like other lumps that I had at the time. Fibrocystic breast disease, they call it. It's very common for women to have. And so I knew this was different, and I knew that I needed to have it tended to immediately. I went for a mammogram as I was directed, and nothing showed. And therefore, the doctor told me not to worry my pretty little head about it and go home and take care of my children. And I am quoting that. Yes, a radiologist did speak to me in that manner. So, fortunately, I didn't listen to him. I had an ultrasound done, and that did discover the lump immediately. And I was still told, don't worry about it. You're too young. It's related to your menstrual cycle. Come back and see me next year. I still wasn't convinced. And I called my primary care doctor, who sent me to a surgeon. And that led to a lumpectomy. And the lumpectomy found that when I woke from that surgery, I had been told I had breast cancer. Quite shocking. Honestly, you don't want to believe that something like that is going to be really cancer, but innately, I knew something was wrong and I needed to have it looked at further. And that itch and that drive and that intuition is what saved my life. After I recovered from that, chemo, surgery, reconstruction, I was approached to teach a breast cancer program. And, I believe that sometimes some of the worst things that we go through in life, some of our greatest challenges, also lead us to who we are meant to be, to a greater mission. And that is what happened for me. And I was very proud to have served over 20,000 people with a breast cancer program, an award-winning breast cancer program that I designed, developed, implemented, and taught. in high schools, colleges, community centers, and faith-based churches and synagogues and the like. It was a very rewarding time for me, and I am grateful for the gift that I was given to give that information to others. I haven't talked about this much since then, since I moved and started a new life here in Georgia and moved in from Wealth Matters and in Health Matters, teaching Health Matters in Florida, to Wealth Matters here in Georgia as a certified divorce financial analyst. But I felt it was time to talk about this again, because 2 years ago, as the world was shutting down from the pandemic, my world was turned upside down and inside out by another breast cancer diagnosis. You see, back in the day when I had it 22 years before, most of the time they recommended just have a lumpectomy. And mastectomies were really thought of not necessary, and they didn't have the genetic testing really going on back then. Once it was found out that I had breast cancer a second time, I was tested. I also found out that I am BRCA1 positive. And for those of you who are not familiar with that, that is a genetic mutation that is those who carry this mutation have a very high susceptibility to having breast cancer and other cancers. But and so I am also a survivor of a daughter. I am a daughter of a 2-time survivor as well. My mother has also gone through breast cancer twice. And some of my children carry that mutation, and they have taken steps to protect themselves. So knowing about your family history is important, although I will tell you as a breast cancer teacher that most breast cancers still are not related to genetics. But those who have that genetic disposition have a much greater chance of dealing with a more aggressive cancer and of death. So it's important that you have your family history if possible, and that you're also getting routine follow-up. Now I want to go back and speak for a minute about the mammogram, because at 36 years old, I was considered very young for breast cancer, and that's not so much these days anymore. Unfortunately, we're seeing women younger and younger getting breast cancer. But when you are young, you tend to have denser breast, what they call fibrocystic breast, and it's very difficult for the mammogram to see through that dense tissue. The digital mammograms of today are a little bit better than they were then, and the ultrasounds are a little more able to pick up on things as well. But you know, just because you're young doesn't mean that you can't be diagnosed with breast cancer. And you want to make sure that you are following up on all of your doctor's recommendations, and you are getting those regular mammograms, even if you're young, and asking for an ultrasound if you have a family history. They don't normally do ultrasounds. Thermography is also something that is come into play using heat sensors, but insurance won't pay for that, just like they don't routinely pay for ultrasounds. So one of the things that I want to share with you is I believe that you need to be a proactive partner, not a passive participant, in the health and the wealth matters of your life. And I say this with absolute conviction, because had I not followed my gut instinct, had I just listened to what a doctor told me, even though I knew something didn't feel right, had I not fought the insurance the second time around when I got breast cancer in 2020 to allow me to have a special procedure done that I had to go out of state for and out of network, had I not done all of those things, I probably, most likely, very highly would not be sitting here talking to you today. And so, so many people just take the word of their doctor at face value. My doc said this, my doc said that, and they just go with that recommendation without asking questions if they have them, without researching a little bit to understand what it is that's being proposed as a part of their treatment and why they need that and why it's the best course of action for them. You have a right to ask these questions when it comes to your health, and again, also to matters of your wealth. And I'm combining these two today because I see the similarities between breast cancer or health matters overall and divorce. I see a lot of people go through divorce blindly, coming into it and not understanding what's being offered to them, what's being the process is being done. They don't understand the process. They don't understand what comes next. They don't understand what they own, what they owe, what may be owed to them. And, I understand that that may be their situation, but now it's time to get involved, to become proactive in the matters of your life, and to ask the questions so that you can begin to understand, to get the right people to guide you so that you can get those answers and that clarity and the confidence in what is being proposed for your health care and your wealth care. So that is the number one takeaway that I hope you will remember after you watch this show today or on a replay. I also want to suggest and highly advise that when you are going through some type of very challenging time in your life, that you seek support. We know from breast cancer statistics that those who seek out private counseling with a therapist or a coach of some type, as well as through support groups, have a much higher survival rate. That has been proven. When it comes to divorce, I will say that those who reach out for support through a therapist or a coach or a support group or all have better outcomes. They're better prepared. They're not as emotional. They are more able to make rational decisions, because when it comes to divorce or your health or any kind of taxing matters, it's very hard to make sound decisions from an emotional standpoint. So getting the emotional support behind you is vitally important as well. And I will say that I've done some research. There's not a lot of studies out there, but from the limited studies that I could find, that there is sometimes a correlation between when women have breast cancer and their divorce. It's not a strong correlation. And my take on it, and this is just my opinion, is that if you have a strong marriage to begin with, cancer diagnosis will usually strengthen the marriage, because you both realize the risk of loss of your breast, loss of your life, and loss of everything that matters to you. If your marriage is already in trouble, struggling, having challenges, then cancer or some other kind of health challenge may be the straw that breaks your marriage's back. And so, that just seems to make sense to me. And that is what I have experienced over the years with clients as well, and what the data, limited data, may show as well. So again, getting support through all of that for your marriage as well can be vitally important to getting through the whole process of cancer or any health challenge overall. And I want to speak to you now about my personal journey. I haven't really shared a lot of what happened to me. In the beginning, I spoke about finding it and, having to fight my way through the doctors and the medical system. But really, this part of the show may be a little more details than some folks may want to hear. So this may be the time to turn off your volume, but I believe in being forthright and candid. And I spoke my story and my journey to, as I mentioned, more than 20,000 people, and it seemed to help people. So again, I'm going to share that with you. Back in the day, when my first cancer happened, I had a mastectomy and I had reconstruction from my abdominal tissue along with the muscle. It was called a tram flap procedure, and that area of my body was transplanted underneath the skin and moved up to create a new breast mound. And I will tell you, it was extremely difficult surgery. Anytime you have surgery from your abdominal area, it's difficult to recover from. As well, and I'm sorry, sometimes this is a little hard to go back and relive. That time in my life was very, very challenging with 3 small children, and it was a lot to get through, as it is for any person. But I think that when you're younger and you have more responsibilities and your children are small, there's a different set of circumstances. Now, fast forward, and 22 years later, as I said, in 2020, I found myself diagnosed again. And the challenges were different. This time it was found on the other side. And I had to fight with my insurance company to allow me to get a procedure that is not as common, because I didn't have the same opportunity to use my abdominal tissue like they do today. By the way, they no longer, most cases do not do a tram flap, which includes the muscle. That makes it very difficult for you to keep your internal area, with no muscle there. It's very hard to exercise. It causes a lot of problem. Nowadays, they do an extraction where they detach the mound of skin from whatever part of the body it's being used from. And it's really amazing. They can transplant from your shoulder, from your thighs, from your buttocks, all kinds of body areas that can be used to transplant, actually being removed completely and then sewn into the body with microsurgery. And that is what I had done the second time around. This area was taken from the superior gluteal artery perforation, it's called, the S-gap, and that came from the upper area of my buttocks. I like to make a joke, because I try to keep light in life, that I have one breast from my belly and one breast from my butt, and now my body doesn't know whether it's coming or going. All joking aside, I'm grateful that that was an opportunity for me. But I did have to go to a specialized center in New Orleans. There were no doctors in the Atlanta area that did that specialized type of surgery. And I was able to keep my femininity and move on. I will caution folks regarding breast implants, which is what the doctors here were giving me as an option: go flat or go with implants. And I wasn't having either part of that, because I know too many women who have suffered from implant disease, and it's real. and having to have explants and then fighting their insurance companies to take those suckers out because they've caused them so much sickness and scar tissue growing around them and all kinds of debilitating things. So I wasn't going to have any of that. Cancer was enough. And so I was grateful to the breast center in New Orleans that I was able to have that other surgery. I went through 4 rounds of chemo the second time around. This time it was a much stronger chemo. The cancer was a different type of cancer all these years later. And my body obviously was 22 years older, and the chemo was much more difficult to tolerate. I did lose all my hair the second time around. I did not the first time, but I'm very grateful it's grown back. And I'm just grateful overall to be here, to be sharing this story with you. And I hope that by doing so, it will help you or someone you know to know that, yes, we need to be aware. We need to be aware of our bodies. We need to be aware of our finances. We need to be aware of all of the things that affect us. But when it comes to breast cancer and awareness, frankly, I'm over it. I think we're all know and are aware of breast cancer. I think that too many companies have taken an opportunity to use this awareness month as an opportunity to pink wash. And what that means is that they get involved, get on this bandwagon and bang the drum to raise money for awareness. And nobody really knows in many cases where that money is going. In some cases, those that are funding supposedly breast cancer awareness are the ones that are creating the pollutants that may be leading to more cancers overall. And it's a way to make them look good in the public eye. I am suggesting that we move from awareness to action and even activism. And so I want to take a moment to explain that. This really hit home recently. I drove up to the mountains, took a day and just wandered through some beautiful towns, seeing the leaves change and thinking about how grateful I am to be alive. And ironically, I met a group of teenage boys who were dressed in silly outfits in pink. And we met upon a bridge and they wanted me to take a picture of them. And so I did. And we stopped and talked for a bit, and I walked with them and I inquired, why are you dressed like this in pink tutus and pink slippers and frilly pink things on your head and all kinds of fun stuff? And they said, oh, breast cancer awareness. And it hit me. This is sometimes what it's become. They didn't mean it to be anything of a mockery. They were trying to show support, but what was it doing? I thank them for that, for their courage to walk around town looking like this to make people aware of it. But I stopped them and I said, let me share something with you. As a 2-time breast cancer survivor, do you think people aren't aware of breast cancer anymore? And they said, no, everybody knows about it. I said, right. So as you're walking around town and you're making people aware, and they're certainly going to see you, so it's an opportunity to start conversations, ask them to take action with their awareness. Ask them to donate to local charities that help women and men. Men can get breast cancer too, but to help those who are going through breast cancer and other cancers with their medical bills, their living cost. A lot of times people can't work through the process. Let's take awareness and turn it into something for the good. Let's take action to help others and also to start moving into activism. And by activism, I mean writing to the corporations, emailing them, calling them, and saying, where is this money going? How much are you giving away? Where, how does this help? I have literally seen breast cancer awareness funding that really is doing nothing at all. And very little money was actually sent to any kind of charity. And it has made me very angry. Enough of the pink washing. The second way that you can take activism is to call, email your congressman and start asking, where are our dollars being spent for funding of breast cancer research and treatment? The Department of Defense has routinely over the years done a lot of research on this that has helped in treatment for breast cancer. Surprisingly, a lot of people don't know that. And so, how can we support more funding for breast cancer research and treatment and prevention, right? I venture to say from my research when I was teaching the program that prevention has gotten to be harder to do these days because our bodies have been exposed to so many chemicals over our lifetimes and even in vitro that we literally have chemical soup. So prevention is going to be a more individual type of thing by doing what you can to live a clean life, eat as well as you can, exercise, stay away from pollutants and chemicals, even in cleaning your house, things like that. There's the personal action and activism that you can take, but also when you talk to your Congress people, and I have actually gone to Congress and met with some of my congressmen and a senator and talked with them about these matters as well. So, a lot of people forget that we can still reach out to our government officials and share our thoughts and see what's going on in the bigger picture. In addition, we can vote with our dollars. That's the third thing that I want you to remember, because really we have more power than we think as individuals. Where we spend our money is where we support, right? And if we're buying products that are polluting the environment, if we are purchasing things from manufacturers who are polluting waterways and the air, we're helping to support that inadvertently, but we are. So taking a look at what's going on behind the scenes, even everything from how are they packaging those products? If they're wrapping everything in plastic, for instance, that it doesn't need to be, that's just adding more of those chemicals to the environment. I have literally called manufacturers and suggested ways that they could repackage items with less packaging overall and definitely less plastic and still get their products to market. And it has been very rewarding to find them on the shelf sometime later in that same manner. So don't ever think that your voice doesn't matter, that you're one person, that nobody's going to listen. They do listen to these things now. You can call them. They all have 1-800 numbers, and share your thoughts and tell them, I'm not going to buy your products anymore if you keep including this or that that's making people sick. And I do this whenever I can, and it is very rewarding, and you can add your voice too. And I want to leave you with this. Never doubt that a small group of committed citizens can change the world. Margaret Mead said that, and I truly believe in that. It takes all of us, it takes each of us to make change in ourselves and in the world. And I hope that you have found this helpful and informative, and that you'll share it with others. Thank you for listening. So before I leave you today, I want to also share some resources with you regarding divorce, because obviously this is the Divorce Do's and Don'ts show. And I'm going to start off with this roadmap that I created for you that you can download at divorcetownusa.com. It is a roadmap to help you move from, we want to help you move away from Bigger Bucks Boulevard and Duke It Out Drive, which is traditional litigated divorce, and help you find other avenues. There's multiple ways that you come into divorce. There's an ebook that comes along with this, and you can find it for free at divorcetownusa.com. Next up, we have the my divorce financial fitness kit, and I created this so that folks would have information and a working spreadsheet of all the documents you need to gather when you're going through a divorce, and you can actually check them off. It is an actual Excel spreadsheet. It also comes with a book, an ebook, and 50 must-ask questions when you are interviewing an attorney. And you're not going to ask them all 50, but you're going to know some things you need to know to ask them. I also want to share with you about our twice a month support group through Divorce Help and Hope. The Divorce Help and Hope support group through meetup.com. You can also find these posted on our Divorcetown USA events page. And we invite you to come. These are free. We have people come from all over the country, and it's some of the most rewarding work that I do is working with others who just need some help and support while they're going through this. And up next week, our next show is about your divorce doesn't have to be a scary story. So we are going to talk with two of my favorite attorneys, Melody Swilling and Dennis Collard, and they're going to share how you can go through divorce in a much more peaceful, practical, money-saving, sanity-saving way. And it's going to be a great show. So I hope you'll join us then. We'll be back here, same time, same place. Thank you for watching.